Like, Namo tasso arahato samma sambuddhasso tassa bhagavato arahato buddhassa. Namo tassa arahato samma sambuddhassa. Pamadam yada nudati pandito maruiha asoko sokining pabbatatto bummante avekkati. Sir, friends and children in the Dhamma, welcome for our Saturday. The verse 28 in the Appamadavagga heedfulness. This Dhamma talk is being sponsored by Siranta and Sriyani Pereira. Their aspirations are to dedicate they generate to their beloved departed ones, Mr. Lionel Pereira, 10 months ago, Mrs. Piacili Pereira, and half months ago. These are the parents, mother and father of Mr. Also to dedicate these merits to Mr. K.L. Aryadasa, father of 1 years ago. These are the aspirations of theirs by sponsoring this, giving the opportunity for all of you to enjoy this spiritual message of Buddha through this Dhamma. By sharing this Dhamma, be dedicated to these beloved ones, and may their present existence be happy and joyful. And may these merits pave the way for them to the of Nibbana. So with these aspirations, let's get into the... As I mentioned, this is a stanza we found in the Appamada Vagga. Mother, literally, it means that you are not delayed, you are not late for something. When we go deep into the Dhamma, word Appamada, it means mindfulness. It means Samma Sati. So, heedfulness, Buddha is that someone who is mindful. So this stanza explains another aspect of... Now it so happened, while residing in the Jetavana monastery, Buddha, after his meal, after his lunch dana, was encompassing the minds of his students, minds of those arahants, kind of questions that they are struggling with, or what kind of... And he came across the mind of one of the most prominent disciples of Buddha, Mahakassapa. Buddhism after the Buddha's demise. Now, when Buddha's Venerable Mahakassapa with his mind, he understood that Venerable Mahakassapa, to realize the relationship between the birth and death, or death and rebirth, death the chuti, and the rebirth in the sense, when Buddha was born, when Buddha was enlightened, in that eve of his enlightenment, certain wisdom within him. One of the wisdom that he got, to see the relationship between the death and rebirth. We call it jnana, chutai utpatti, death and rebirth. This relationship for the entire world. This world is full of religions. Behind this number of religions in the world is, in fact, is the reason. Most accurately, what happens after for number of religions in the world. It is a mystery that generates so much of complexities within religions in the world due to this simple reason that human being, it is always something never understood, and it says on the eve of his enlightenment, Bodhisattva came across this wisdom, or this wisdom arose in him, the relationship between birth and death, or the death and rebirth. Now Mahakashyapa, that wisdom, and it is impossible for him, because this is not the students. And it says Buddha in front of Venerable Mahakashyapa, as if he is sitting in front of Venerable Mahakashyapa, and told Venerable Mahakashyapa that it is not your area. Don't try to get into that area. He uttered this stanza. Yeah. So let's go into this stanza. Adang appamadena yada nudati pandito. Pandito, the wise one. Remember, intelligence has nothing to do with education. Education is something that is different. Be efficient in our careers, in our for that efficiency we are educated. But we should not mix being educated and being intelligent. Being intelligent is, or being wise is, as it is. Basically, human beings are prone to comprehend the situations based on their emotions. In anger, in jealousy, in sadness, being worried, confused. We understand the sounds. Do you think we will ever understand a situation as it is? Impossible. And a situation based on emotions is not. So an intelligent person is someone who came out of the emotion, being liberated from the emotions, he comprehends the situations as it exactly is. That whatever is present moment, whether you like it or not, it is changing. It was not there before, and it has arisen now, going to last forever. So it is something as something changing. When you changing, do you think you will have any kind of reaction? Whether a reason is pleasant, unpleasant, you like, you don't like, in spite of any of these differences, always bound to change sooner or later. Sooner or later, this is going to change with anger, with hatred, with attachment, with jealousy. This is what the intelligent man understands. So, intelligence is something that has nothing to do with education. Education is, as I said, for our efficiency to live in this world. It is absolutely useful for our well-being, to make a good living, good earning. But it is not useful for liberation. What is useful is intelligence. And that intelligence with our cultivation of awareness. Mindfulness, awareness, that person gradually develops the intelligence. Buddha says, Pandito, that wise man who has cultivated awareness and developed a true understanding of the world with the Pandito. Pamadang apamadena nudati is to dispel. He dispels. What does he dispel? Pamadang, unheedfulness, unawareness, unmindfulness. He unheedfulness, unawareness with appamadena, with heedfulness. The utensil, no other weapon or no other dispelling the darkness of unawareness other than the awareness. This is the difference between the light and the darkness. Can you directly deal with the darkness? Impossible. You cannot do anything with the darkness. Just bring the light in. Just bring the light in. The darkness is no more to find. Darkness is gone. Darkness, you just brought the light in. For the unawareness to be dispelled, you have to bring in the mindfulness, the awareness. Just bring in the awareness and found. It is gone. That's what Buddha says. Wise, because he brought the mindfulness into brought the mindfulness within. He cannot find any kind of unmindfulness anymore. Pamadang appamadena yada anudati spells unmindfulness with mindfulness. Panya pasada maruiha. He is like someone who has ascended to the Panya pasada, to the palace of wisdom. Panya, wisdom. Again, keeping this wisdom, it has nothing to do with the knowledge. In his vision, knowledge is a utensil for you, a better way of living, for you to be efficient in the world. But be on the path of enlightenment. Wisdom is to comprehend in this present moment as it exactly is, as it exactly is. Comprehend something that is happening, create any attachment to it. Because what is the point? It is temporary. It is absolutely ignorant to be attached to something which is not going to be after vanish after some time. This is what happened with that understanding of the present moment as it is. That realization for him, that panya, that wisdom he has acquired, like a palace, a tower, pasad. Pasad has two meanings. Very strong, safe place, very comfortable place. That something protects you. He is the vicissitudes of the world, lokadhammas, vicissitudes, labo, alabo, gain, loss, ayaso, yaso, pasansa, praise, blame, sukha, dukkha. Our life is full of this. Pleasant and unpleasant. No one in this world is to receive. When you are getting the pleasant gain, fame, comfort, there are shame, loss, discomfort. These unpleasantries are looming in the horizon. Changing. Blame, praise change into blame. Comfort to discomfort. These 8 vicissitudes they are waiting for us always. But for someone as it is, do you think when the praise happened to him, when the fame floating above in the sky, as if he is untouchable, immune to the other vicissitudes? Do you think he will lose his common sense because he is being praised? He has money now? No. He will be realistic. He will be keeping his ground. He will understand. Today, I am being praised. I have money. I have a comfortable life. But this can be changed. This is not eternal. This can be changed. So why should I be blinded by these temporary things? And as he expected, as he thought they are going to change, going to blame him one day. That fame can be changed into shame sooner or later. And when it happens, he will not be weeping his heart out, lamenting, again losing his common sense, being depressed, stressed, worried. He won't be doing any of this. Still he will smile, okay, this is also going to change. Not as a concept, not as a knowledge, he himself has realized this too shall change. This too shall change. This is of the life. This is loka dhamma. Why should I be worried? For him, that wisdom is like a strong tower, strong palace. He is never shaken by any of. He is unshaken by any of them. That's why Buddha comes here. He is someone who has ascended into the tower or the. So wisdom is compared to a palace by the Buddha, to a tower. Asoko sokining pajang. He is sorrowless among the people who are full of sorrow. Why he is griefless? Now, sorrow or the suffering, major teaching in Buddha. In Buddhism, is kind of elaborated so much that Buddhism is kind of a negative religion. Yeah, talking about suffering so much. But we have to keep mind, when Buddha talks about suffering, his idea is to help us, to lead us to get rid of that. He teaches about the darkness. He tells us you are in a prison, not to make us aware about it. No, he tells us the way to get rid of this prison. He indicates birth is suffering. Can anybody deny this? Aging is suffering. Getting old is suffering. And this body is getting weak and poor and poor. Sicknesses are coming in. Natural. Sicknesses are suffering. When you are sick, you know how it is. Forget about it. But while you are sick, you know how bad it is. Getting what we desire, is it pleasant or unpleasant? The sad thing is, if you get one desire, you are going to miss 9 fulfillments. If you get one, you are going to miss 9. It is always suffering. You don't get in this life. Suffering is endless. Better to forget about them. You don't, then your suffering will be less. So not getting what one desires is suffering. To be accompanied with the people who are unpleasant to you, you don't like, suffering. And to be separated from the ones you love. Ultimately he says, in brief, these 5 aggregates. What are these 5 aggregates? This body, senses, eye, ear, nose, tongue, the body, in contact with the external sources, forms for the ear, smells for the nose, tastes for the tongue. And this body is always looking for this touch. This body is always in need of those external forms, sounds, smell, tastes and the tangibles to be connected to them. And once they are connected, it is a pleasant, it is the vision I desire. I like to watch, I like to see this, I like to hear this, I like to smell this, I like to touch. Based on this food for the senses, each body has their own foods. These foods, some foods, some types of food we don't like, some we like. Perceptions on them. This is the second aggregate. Perception is the second one. Those foods, types of food connected with these sense doors, feelings. Yeah, that is another aggregate. When we find that contact generate kind of a pleasant sensation, what do we do? We create concepts over them. Sanya. Then comes the attachment. Try to grasp them, try to own them, try to possess them. And when all these are connected, gathered together, of consciousness, a type of condition in our consciousness, vijnana. Form, these six senses need kinds of food. When they are in contact with our sense doors, there are types of feelings. Based on these feelings, we create concepts, whether we like them or not, over them because of the feeling. You change the feeling. You say somebody, I like you. But once your like, your desire is gone. So, these five senses, when they are in contact with this external sources, the Vedana, aggregate of feeling, and based on this feeling we create concepts. We want to acquire, possess the likes and dispel the sankara. Based on these, there is types of mental. These are the five aggregates. The aggregates of form, feelings, perceptions. Yeah, Buddha says you are generating misery in you based on these five aggregates. That's what he says. In brief, the five aggregates are out. The misery that we go through from birth to the death. Happiness. We are in a pursuit of happiness, but we are never happy. Why? We are actually living in such a miserable life. Being in misery, we dream of happiness. We are never happy. So Buddha says, he has introduced an art of living that has nothing to do with the external sources. Remember that somebody, that same person, can take that happiness away into misery. Because of someone, if you become happy, sooner or later, to be miserable. That's the nature in the world. So happiness, we receive happiness. And Buddha says the art of living is technique to find an happiness independent, which has nothing to do with even you yourself. Your ego, I, my. Once, while he is introducing the misery, he is pointing out through, he indicates the light at the end of the dark tunnel. Asoko sokinim pajang. Who found that light? at the end of the dark tunnel. He is Asoko. He is sorrowless. Nobody could make the Buddha cry, but nobody could make him hurt. Nobody could make him sad. Nobody could bring a tear out of his eyes. Has nothing to do with others. Nobody could make him sad, or nobody could make him happy also. He is happy unto himself. Buddha's happiness is unto himself. He is the sorrowless one. By the word sorrowless, asoko, that somebody who never become sad, somebody immune to the others. He is immune to behaviors of others. He is someone like Diro Bhale Avekkati. Now the comparison. Buddha says, this person who has climbed onto a mountain top, there are under the mountain, and someone has climbed onto the mountain can see the actual silly living, childish way of living of these people. He is above. He can see the reality of the people who are. So this person who has mindful, and with that mindfulness he has acquired wisdom. Wise person is someone who has climbed the mountain, is watching the people underneath the mountain, beyond them, who has gone beyond, can see what is the reality of the people. Them. It is not obvious for them. This is our nature. As I said, human based on their emotions. Emotions are the driving factors. Says you are virtually blind to the actions, the words. You are blind to the things you say. You don't see the reality as it is. Why? You have called emotions. But that wants to bring out the awareness, the mindfulness. Actually, he started removing that shade and seeing the reality. Between his issues and himself. This distance helped him to see the reality of his problems as they are. So wisdom in the Buddha's eyes is a byproduct, and that wisdom helps you to create a distance between your issues. You and your causes for troubles. Because of that distance, you can see the reality. When you see the reality, you are not affected. You are not affected by them. You see them as something impermanent, changing, momentary. In this 28th verse of Dhammapada, where he mentions the function of someone who is pamadang appamaden yada panya pasad maroiha kining pajang pabbatatto bummale avekkati. One who is wiselessness by heedfulness, having ascended, steadfast, one surveys the childish, views the grieving folk, as one standing on a mountain, standing on the ground below. So Buddha compares mindfulness, who develops his awareness, is someone who has his worldly, his mundane way of living, reactive to the momentary world, who is gone beyond and has become someone who is sorrowless. He is not affected by the worldly conditions. He is beyond vicissitudes of life. This is what the Buddha tries. Verse in the Dhammapada. Today this discourse, Siranta and Sriani Pereira, the aspirations and these merits for their beloved friends and the other departed ones. Mr. Lionel Pereira, at the age of 78, 10 months ago, and Mrs. Piercely Pereira, 1.5 months ago. These are the parents of Mr. Siranta Pereira. To Mr. K. L. Aryadasa, father of Mrs. Sriani Pereira. May all the merits that we generate by sharing this Dhamma, by listening this Dhamma, to these beloved ones for the well-being of their present existence. They are still in connection with us, aspiring to rejoice with our merits. May their present existences become blissful, happy and peaceful by the power of these merits. Help them to attain the final aspirations. Let's dedicate all these merits to these beloved ones. Idam hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idam me hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. Idam me hotu sukita hontu nyatayo. May the Deva, may your present existences, may your lives be protected, be guided. May all the guardian deities of yours be rejoiced with these merits. Matta Devanaga Mahiddika Punyantam Kantu Loka Sasanam Akasatta Chabumaddika Punyantang Anumoditva Chirang Rakkan Akasatta Chabumatta Devanaga Mahiddika Moditva Chirang Rakhantu Loka Sasanam. For the sponsors, Mr. and Mrs. Sriani Pereira, son, daughter, relatives here and in Sri Lanka, may these merits be a supportive factor for all of them. At once be rejoiced with these merits, and may these merits pave the way for all of us to attain the Nirvana. With these aspirations, Dukkha Roga Bhavera Soka Sabbe Ayape Vinasantu Cha Tejasa Jaya Siddhi Dhanang Lang Siriyayu Cha Vanno Cha Bhogam Buddhi Cha Yasava Cha Jiva Siddhi Bhavantu Te Ayurarogya Sampatti Meva Cha Ato Nibbana Sampatti Iminate. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.